every resource that we have is attempting to rescue as many people as possible. And the end result is going to be some horrendous number of lives lost. I don't think we know yet. But right now, we have to just focus on saving as many people as possible.
When your former official of the FBI in the New York office is on the air, very deeply involved in the Flight TWA 800 investigation. Jim, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
What do you think? Horror that all of us feel, but I'd really appreciate, aside from, on top of your sentiments about all this, give us some sense of what's going on.
What is going on now is a massive rescue effort. We have thousands of police officers and firefighters.
In New York City than John Miller. He not only been a reporter for most of his adult life, but he worked for the police department in New York for a while before he had the good sense to come back to journalism, and he is totally plugged in. But even, and he'll have Linda Douglas available to us all the time, thank goodness, and Senator Biden says one of the most profound things about all this, which we've said several times this morning, which the terrorist wins when he or she manages to alter the behavior of a people, or infringes on the way of life. Okay, Sandy Berger, thank you very much, former National Security Advisor in the Clinton administration, one of the most important members of the foreign policy establishment in the Clinton administration, now an independent consultant, as people in government tend to do when they leave government. It's been hard this morning as we continue to look at the smoke and the dust drift up from a crime scene, as John Miller called it, which we cannot feel in any intimate way on television. It has a lot of reporting on the status of air travel and the FAA response, most of which I think we've reported here, but if you want to get it locked into your mind, you can go to abcnews.com. And then there is a lot of reporting, as there always is at abcnews.com, about the ramifications of this to individuals, to communities, and to the country as a whole. Tony Cordesman is in Washington at the moment. And Tony, since I talked to you last
yes, we do have some information, but I think we should leave that up to the federal government to release that information. Our focus is on the relief efforts.
Maurice Dubois is in Paris. He works for WNBC here in New York. Maurice? Yeah, Maurice, tell us what's been going on in the French capital.
We are getting information now that one of the other buildings, Building 7, in the World Trade Center complex, is on fire and has either collapsed or is collapsing. And you, to be honest, can see these pictures a little bit more clearly than I.
And as Aaron is just saying, and we're hearing for the first time, one of these support buildings is on the verge of collapse if it has not already collapsed. It looks to me, as it may to Aaron as well, with these live pictures, that smoke is so black that it may be the result of a fresh part of this terrible disaster. But it is only speculation at this point.
We've just heard from one of our reporters, Lucy Kerrigan, who's gotten quite close, that the police are actually pulling back from the scene right now. The police and other rescue personnel are pulling back from the scene because they're concerned about two things. Number one, all of the asbestos in the air coming out from that smoke from the collapsing building, and secondly, the possibility of other buildings collapsing.
Let's go to Ken Aller. Now, Ken, just let me share with you something today. The Arab governments have uniformly condemned these attacks, and we have.
If you know, the World Financial Center's got a rib design, so you actually have a 2-by-2 space where you can
still fires burning in there. We were told by somebody that was down there a little while ago that there were still fires burning in some.
Peter, there is a new concern, according to authorities, at this moment here in Lower Manhattan, and that is the growing fear that another building in the World Trade Center complex, which was not struck by an airplane, is in danger of collapsing. That is number 7 World Trade Center, somewhat shorter, with somewhat fewer stories than numbers 1 and 2. There is a fire burning vigorously in the lower floors of that building, threatening the foundation. And the building was already damaged some 6 hours ago now when the North Tower collapsed.
Building over there, which is building number 7, which you can see, it is referred to as building number 7. It's about, I would say probably a 20-story building, that there is some concern on the part of Port Authority officials about the stability of that building at this point.
Back into Manhattan to try and help relieve some of these doctors and nurses that are going to start getting very exhausted at the area hospitals down on the southern tip of Manhattan.
And is there a number people should call or a location they ought to go to if they are medical personnel and can help in the effort down there, where they can get on one of these?
There's still concern about a building right there where there is a fire still going, and the police here still concerned that that building too may be in jeopardy. They continue to push the crowds back a block, another block, another block. They remain concerned that that building could fall as well. Tom, there are triage centers set up here on both sides. I'm sort of in the middle area. On both to the east and the west of me, there are triage centers, and in fact, there's one place where a school bus has been converted into an ICU. So, Tom, as you can see, the issues continue here. More people coming in and coming out. Tom.
Thanks very much, NBC's Dan Abrams. We're coming up now on about 8 hours.
We've got some news just coming in, actually, that the Salomon Brothers building in New York, right in the heart of Manhattan, has also collapsed.
Picture from our vantage point right now. And I have to tell you, Katie and Matt, the most sickening, the most disheartening thing is that there has been no diminution of this smoke whatsoever over the last several hours. If anything, the fires appear to be burning with greater intensity, the blackness of the smoke getting that much blacker in the last couple hours.
Now, more on the latest building collapse in New York. You might have heard a few moments ago, I was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing. And indeed it has. Apparently that's only a few hundred yards away from where the World Trade Center towers were. And it seems that this was not a result of a new attack. It was because the building had been weakened during this morning's attacks. We'll probably find out more now about that from our correspondent, Jane Standley. Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
Well, only really what you already know. Details are very, very sketchy. There's almost a sense downtown in New York behind me, down by the World Trade Centers, of just an area completely closed off as the rescue workers try to do their job. But this isn't the first building that has suffered as a result. We know that part of the Marriott Hotel next to the World Trade Center also collapsed as a result of this huge amount of falling debris.
As a nation doesn't love our intelligence community, and certainly the news media does not love our intelligence community.
I'm going to interrupt you, Tom Clancy. I'm told Aaron Brown in New York has a development. Aaron?
Well, Judy, just in the last few seconds, another building, we will speculate carefully here that there was building number 7, one of the buildings in support of the World Trade Center towers, has collapsed. Those of you who have been with us for a while, you can see indeed that the smoke color has changed has gotten much lighter. So we believe that yet another building, this would be the 3rd building, has collapsed, likely building number 7, although we also heard that there were problems at building number 5, and it's possible that one went down too.
Few people when the building collapsed.
Now we understand that yet another building has collapsed in New York. Do we know what building this is? Well, it's got to be in proximity to one of the 2 towers, and as
the two towers are gone,
so it's got
Is this a 3rd building now in New York?
This is the 3rd building. We don't know. This is some of the problems of technology, and that is that the pictures advance the facts. It's building 7 of the World Trade Center, we understand, has collapsed.
That they were afraid that there was another building in the complex. We later learned it was building 7, the one we showed you a half hour ago, and just moments ago that building collapsed. Matt?
Pat Dawson, hi, it's Katie. I was just curious, are there any other buildings in danger of collapsing in that general vicinity?
When we spoke to the Port Authority officials, as I said, probably in the last hour and a half, they indicated that they were worried about a couple of buildings, but really they concentrated on building 7. That is the one that just fell literally moments ago. They didn't indicate that they specifically thought that there was another building that was in trouble. They just said they were nervous, in their words, about a couple of buildings, and then specifically cited building 7, which is the building that we just referred to.